All right, everybody. Shalom and welcome. Shalom and welcome to the Yishai Fleisher Show. We are broadcasting live from Judea to the world. You're a part of it wherever you are. Shalom and welcome to our friends on LinkedIn and Instagram and X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, and Facebook. And we're going live to the world from the good land, from the land of Israel. Shalom, everybody, and welcome. Last week was a hard week. Oh my gosh. We had Jews killed after this like blood moon. And then a rabbi today told me that indeed the Talmud says like these blood moons could be a sign of a kind of sword against Israel or a sword that comes into the world. And gosh, did it strike? It was not easy last week. So we had that, the attacks in Jerusalem. Then we had the attacks in Gaza. We lost 10 Jews in like one day. Then we had the strike in Qatar, which was exciting, but then it turned out that maybe it wasn't so successful. And then after that, we had the Charlie Kirk thing. So last week was a hard week. And we remembered the magical words of Charlie Kirk, who himself was a proponent of the Jewish Sabbath. And so we had a Shabbat, and now we are a little bit renewed, a little bit re-energized, revivified, and re-excited to fight the battle. And the battles are multi-fronts, multi-theaters, and we've got to be active on all of them. We got the kinetic war in Gaza and Judea and Samaria. We got a kinetic war in Yemen. We got a kinetic war in Qatar. And we got the narrative war all over the world on Twitter and on X and in Piers Morgan and all the places. And then we had the big shutdown of Charlie Kirk. They shut down his channel. They shut it down all the way. And yet Charlie's energy continues to thrive and throb throughout the world and continues to kind of promulgate because his energy and his ideas will not be shut down so easily. But my point to you is last week was a hard week. This week we start again. We start again in our multi-generational fight to make this world a better place. Today's show, you are welcome to join me from all over the world. And I see folks from Vienna and from Canada and from the UK and all over the world already joining us. Please join us on comments. And you can like, subscribe, comment, become a member. Check out our YouTube store. You can be part of it. And don't forget throughout the show that there's a great way to communicate and connect, and that is Super Chats. It's a great way. It's a great way to get the show pumping and going and energized, and to read your comments. Together with us today is our producer Yo. And Yo, I got to ask you. There's already a guy in the chats who keeps writing, "Why you guys killed the man?" Please just delete him. He's already written that 6 times. You could just get him off the screen because we don't need no jerks.
He's gone.
He's gone. Thank you very much. And there are good folks, and we can have good conversations. There's a lot of dialogue to be had. We don't have to agree. Let's learn from Charlie Kirk that we can have dialogue, but you're not going to force your way. You're not going to proselytize your way. You can have a civil conversation. Remember that? Civil conversation. Yes, it's important. We have a friend from Finland saying hi. Shalom and welcome. From South Africa, shalom and welcome. So we have a lot of good folks joining the show. And let's welcome one of our most favorite guests who has not been on for a while, and that is co-show hostess with the mostest, Malkah Fleisher. Malkah, shalom.
Hi, Yishai. It's good to be back.
Thank you very much for joining us, Malkah. Malkah, last week, not an easy week. Not an easy week.
Rough, ups and downs.
Gosh, and a lot of downs. A lot of what on the face of it would seem like downs, but of course we know better that the Lord, He's got a vision. Let's talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk and about the stuff that he was fighting, because the stuff that he was fighting was a lot of the stuff that we were fighting. Let's play a few videos. I did a show immediately after the heinous murder, and in that show I covered a lot of his pro-Israel remarks. But you know what? A lot of other remarks have surfaced or have been kind of brought to the surface in any case. Let's show a few of them. Okay, Malkah?
Great.
Here we go.
Trip I ever took was to Israel, and the second greatest trip I ever took was to Israel, and I've been there twice. I'm a huge supporter of the Holy Land, of Judea and Samaria, and up against the terrorist organizations, Hezbollah, and the Palestinian Authority. I go to college campuses, and I've spoke at more college campuses than any Christian conservative in the last couple of years. Stanford, Berkeley, Brown, UCLA, University of Texas, University of Michigan, Michigan State University, you name it, I've probably spoken at major universities or states all across the country, from Montana State to Maine. And I am confronted many times by young Christians that believe that Israel is an oppressive apartheid state that basically should not exist in its current form. And so I'm here to clearly communicate to you that we have to do a much better job of communicating, of conveying, I should say, the geopolitical significance of the state of Israel. The world's a better place because of the state of Israel. We have all three monotheistic religions represented in the Israeli Knesset and the Israeli Supreme Court. Israel actually expresses freedom of religion. I'll never forget when I was driving down to Hebron last year, and you're driving down south from Jerusalem, and there's this sign, and I don't speak Arabic, nor do I speak Hebrew. So I turned to my driver. I said, "What does that sign say?" There was no English translation, and there was a arrow in the middle, and an arrow to the right, arrow to the left, and the arrows to the right and left were red, and the arrow in the middle was black or some other not a warning color. And so I said, "What does that mean?" They said, "Well, if we turn right, you'll die." What do you mean you'll die? Well, if you turn right, you go into the Palestinian Authority-controlled territories, and as a Christian, a Westerner, or a Jew, they'll kill you. It's like, well, what kind of ridiculous double standard here? If Arabs come into the Israeli-occupied areas, they're given benefits and rights to vote. You go into the Palestinian Authority areas, Palestinian Authority-controlled areas, you get your head cut off. That was a really interesting moment.
So there's a short video of things, and I just want to kind of start it from the beginning just for a second. Just listen to this, this quick part that he says in succession.
The greatest trip I ever took was to Israel, and the second greatest trip I ever took was to Israel, and I've been there twice. I'm a huge supporter of the Holy Land, of Judea and Samaria, and up against the terrorist organizations, Hezbollah, and the Palestinian Authority. I go to college camp.
Okay, so there you go. I am for Israel. I'm for the Holy Land. And I think the reason he says I'm for the Holy Land is because the Holy Land is really the aspect that he connected to. And this is something that we keep trying to talk to our leaders about. The reason that he says Holy Land and Judea and Samaria is because he identifies Judea and Samaria as the place of the Bible.
Right.
Is the place of the Bible. And this is what he connected to. He connected to the biblical aspect. And our beloved state of Israel has really not done enough to promote the idea that, I know this is going to sound crazy, that Israel is the Holy Land.
Right. I mean, Israel feels very comfortable. We've said this before on the show, right? But Israel feels very comfortable portraying itself as the startup nation, as a post-Holocaust nation, as a scrappy outpost for democracy in the Middle East that will use its like incredibly innovative military technology to zap bad guys in the region. And all those things are true. And they are all amazing things about Israel and are all things that I'm really proud of Israel. But the real question is, why are we doing all that here? Why are we here? How did we get to this place on earth? And the reason is because this is the Jewish homeland. And how did this become the Jewish homeland? It became the Jewish homeland because the God of Israel told the children of Israel that this is the place that he wants us to be and invest in and grow and develop and satellite out to the world from. And Charlie understood that very well. A person who was very versed in the Bible, in our Torah, and he believed, you know what I mean? He was obviously a man with a very high intellect, but in a certain sense, he was not a complicated person. He was a person who knew who he was, knew what he believed in, knew the difference between right and wrong, and refused to be confused. And wanted to take that lack of confusion in a world that is trying to smoke and mirrors you all the time and like out rhetoric you all the time. He was trying to take that energy out to students who have been so warped and brainwashed by a modernity which wants to distort and confuse everything. that was like his life's mission, and yeah, and that's what he died for.
But
Those values.
back to specific issue of Israel.
Right.
He really connected with the idea. He kept going back, and even in some of his last interviews where he had some issues with the state of Israel, he never ever backtracked or never ever questioned the issue of the Holy Land, of the land of the Bible. This is where the Bible happened. And when you and he had this great line that I think we should make a shirt out of, Malkah, which is, he said, when you go to the land of Israel, it demystifies or demythologizes the Bible. It makes the Bible real. And he really felt that very strongly. He didn't, by the way, agree with everything that the state of Israel, and he would separate those things. He said, well, you know,
I
the
also
state of
don't
Israel.
agree with everything
Exactly.
that the state of
Right.
Israel does.
Exactly.
We're not here to worship the state of Israel. The state of Israel is not an infallible deity. It is a group of Jews getting together, trying to make the thing that they think God wants them to make, and make it as successfully as possible. And we're here to try to develop it as best as we can. Criticizing Israel is not being anti-Israel, but sometimes it is, right? Sometimes the criticism of Israel gets into a place where it's no longer criticism, it's just anti-Israelness. But so Charlie would sometimes have critiques of what was going on in Israel, or whether the United States should involve itself in Israeli military actions in the region and things like that. But there was never a question that he was emphatically in favor of the Jewish state on the land of Israel.
That's right. That's right. And the promotion of Israel as the land of the Bible. And I have to tell you that working with the Israeli government, I'm sensing more and more that they're starting to get it, that what talks to people of the Bible is that Israel is the land of the Bible. So when you bring Bible people, God bless Tel Aviv, that beloved and wonderful city that I feel close to and will only blessing and love to go to, et cetera, et cetera. But that is not the heart of what people that love the Bible feel about the land of Israel. It's about the Bible and the stories of the Bible. And that's why, by the way, I had the great honor and pleasure of bringing Charlie Kirk to Hebron. More correct, hosting him in Hebron. That's more correct,
right.
Because my good friend Matan Peleg is the one who brought him to the land of Israel and to Judea and Samaria. And I had the pleasure of hosting him at the Tomb of the Patriarchs, the Matriarchs. That picture of him at the tomb there, went viral, and I'm very proud of that. But like, you know, there are some people who are like, "Wait a minute, he had issues with Israel." Whoop-de-doo.
Good morning. Yeah, we all have some issues with Israel.
Watch the show here. Watch the show. Watch my stuff about Netanyahu. Plenty of critiques. Woo! What do you think? That like being pro-Israel means being lobotomized and like going in line with with every policy of the state of Israel? Come on. I don't usually talk about this, but we're a democracy. We have different viewpoints about how Israel policy should be. And I'm certainly not in agreement all the time with our state and Netanyahu, et cetera. And I think Charlie had absolutely, good points. I didn't agree with everything. Okay. But the point is, one thing I definitely agree with is his interest and love of the Bible. Now, his interest and love of the Bible, Malkah, also brought him to another consciousness, which is very important, which I think in many ways is one of the great issues of our time, which is the issue of technology and the need to power down, step off, digitalize for a Sabbath. And Charlie Kirk, his upcoming book will be posthumously published, will be, sad to say, will be about the Shabbat. And the name of the book is Stop in the Name of God. As in like, stop in the name of God instead of love. Okay. And here is Charlie talking about the issue of Shabbat, the Sabbath, for the Jewish Sabbath as taken upon a non-Jew like Charlie Kirk.
And I'll say one other. I mean, I'm going to challenge you guys on one thing. And Allie, I don't know if you know this. Last July, I was traveled all across the country last year. I was getting really stressed and just worn down, typical stuff that happens on the road. And a pastor friend of mine said, "Charlie, you got to take a Sabbath." And I was like, "Oh, we're not bound by that commandment, whatever." And he really convicted me. So every Friday night, I take a Jewish Sabbath, turn off my phone, Friday night to Saturday night. The world cannot reach me, and I get nothing from the world. It will bless you infinitely. Now, I'm not saying you're bound by the law as a Christian. I'm not saying that that's something you have to do. I'm saying it will make your life better. It was important enough that God put it as one of the 10 Commandments. And I will say, there's debate in some theological circles that we are bound to it because it predated the law. God rested after creation. So I want you to think about that. So Friday night to Saturday night, no one can reach me. And I wake up, I wake up on Saturday night, I open up my phone, 600 text messages, 900, whatever. But it is the best 24 to 25 hours. And if every young person took a legitimate Sabbath from Friday night to Saturday night, I guarantee you anxiety would go down, depression would go down, you'd actually spend time with people you care about, meaningful conversations would happen. So I challenge you, if you incorporate that in your life, there's no negative. The only negative would possibly be if you had to contact someone in an emergency. If it's an emergency, then fine, open up your phone. That's a separate conversation. Emergencies don't happen every week, and if they do, you've got other problems, right? So take the Sabbath, take it seriously, and I think you should take a permanent Sabbath from TikTok. But you and I could talk about that at a different time. But I do want to say...
Okay, Malkah, that was Charlie talking about Sabbath, and he had such a conviction that he wrote a book that's coming out just about the Sabbath, Sabbath for the Nations. And a lot of people this past Shabbat, non-Jews or even Jews who hadn't done it before, took upon themselves a kind of Charlie Shabbat. And maybe in many ways, maybe this message is a resounding one that the world really needs to hear. What do you think about that?
It is fascinating, Yishai. As a Jewish person to watch, there's no question that in the non-Jewish world, there's a connection to the Bible, a deep, very loyal dedication to Bible values. But sometimes as a Jewish person, knowing that you've been carrying around this information, this data with you for 2,000 years in the diaspora, it sometimes feels to you like it is your job to purvey the information. But every once in a while steps in someone from the outside and is able to open the eyes of people in such a dramatic way that you really have to be amazed that God has his messengers across the nations and around the world. Charlie Kirk and his Sabbath, notice he calls it the Jewish Sabbath. I think he mentioned it in this video, but I've certainly seen him say it in other videos. He doesn't say I take a Sabbath. He says I take a Jewish Sabbath. When I first heard that he was a Sabbath keeper, I was like, oh, well, Sunday. And you told me, Yishai, like, no, Friday night to Saturday night. And the fact that he understood that this was something that would benefit him, and that he additionally understood on top of that it would benefit him, but that he is not obligated to all the various specific nuances that the Jewish people are obligated to. We have a very lengthy series of directions about how to yes and no do Shabbat, and it's very extensive. Whereas he understood that the principle of Shabbat was meant for him, that he could learn from the idea that taking a day of rest, something that has really sustained the Jewish people throughout all of our years. This keeping of the Shabbat has sustained us in a variety of ways, whether it be just on the personal level, like Charlie is talking about, but certainly also on the community level and definitely on the spiritual level. It has sustained us. He understands that this is something that he can glean from. And now I'm looking all over. On Friday, Yishai, I was looking all over Twitter, X. I still can't say X. But anyway, I was looking all over X, and I see Jews who consider themselves secular, who are not Sabbath keepers, who are saying on X, because of Charlie and his dedication to the Sabbath, I'm going to start keeping Shabbat now. Whoa, what a mind blower. To me, this is an incredible merit for him, that he was able to open the eyes. I mean, not to mention the thousands upon thousands of Gentiles who will probably take upon themselves the Sabbath and really just be so nurtured by it and start to understand what it means to do a digital detox and to sit, with uninterrupted eye contact in front of your family, or to actually read a book that has pages, or to take a walk outside, or to think, an uninterrupted thought. The fact that he was able to make Jewish people reappreciate the heritage that we were given because of his appreciation of it and his like finding it and adopting it into his life, I find that to be like a really mind-blowingly beautiful thing. And I'm so like happy and humbled for him, like happy for him, humbled, amazed. And I think that God works in mysterious ways. And as much as I think that the loss of Kirk, is a really profound loss, and I think that he could have done so much more and he had so much more to do, I think that God is also incredibly smart. And he knew that this was a person who wanted to serve him in his life, and he's using him to the max. And I think that that's really, really cool.
Okay, Malkah, absolutely. The world needs digital detox. Shabbat is something that we need more than ever before. Charlie Kirk was saying to you, it's a godly mandate, but it's also a societal need today. It's more needed than ever before. How funny is it that in this modern time that we live in, we need Shabbat more than ever before? I know that I read Barry Weiss on Twitter says Shabbat cannot come fast enough this week, and I slid into Shabbat this week as though I was sliding into home base. It's like, right. And just made it in. And I was like, thank you. And yeah, I think that one of Charlie Kirk's big legacies is Shabbat. It's right. Really
and his
cool.
book is going to come out. I mean, we haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg yet.
Right.
I only like mourn inside that he won't be there to discuss it out more and to go on.
Yeah, I would have had him on the show, or he would have had me on his show.
I mean, it would have been pretty amazing, but as it is, I think it still will be. And Yishai, I didn't tell you, but as a little gift, I went to Amazon and I pre-ordered that book for you.
Cool, dude. Thank you very much. Very nice.
You're welcome. So
thank you. I appreciate that. I will enjoy that. Thank you. That's very cool. That's very cool. Avi A sent a super chat. And we love super chats because it's a great way to hear your voice and support the show. He says, how do you think Charlie Kirk would debate Jimmy Carter, who was also well-versed in the Bible? Jimmy Carter didn't understand the Bible. Jimmy Carter did not understand you're supposed to bless the Jews. Jimmy Carter was the supporter of the jihad, Nazi, Molech, Hamas, Amalekites. He was on the wrong side of the Bible. He didn't get it. He was a replacement theology guy. He wanted to shrink Israel. He was not a blesser of Israel. He simply misunderstood the Bible and had some very incorrect lessons. Charlie Kirk would have made mincemeat out of him, and he was using the Bible against itself. He saw the Bible. He saw Israel in the dark light, and not as Israel, the nation that has challenges but overcomes, in order to be the apples of God's eye, the apple of God's eye. Okay, Malkah, one more video from Charlie, but this one is different.
Okay.
This one is about, we talked about the Shabbat. We talked about his standing with Israel and rejecting the Palestinian Authority, but this was a different issue that we are warning about all the time here on our channel and our discussions, and that is the growing emergency situation of the jihadist takeover and its complicity with progressivism, the Red-Green Alliance, the Progressive Jihad Alliance. And Charlie was all over that. He was all over that, and he saw these twin evils working seemingly at different intellectual spectrums, and yet actually having the same goal, which is to undermine civilization, to undermine freedom, to sow discord, and to undermine heritage, the Bible, and the biblical heritage, what some people call, a term that I don't like so much, Judeo-Christian values, but definitely biblical values. Here's Charlie Kirk warning the United States of those dangers.
Battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Asian, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Everybody, if you are Christian and Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, these 2 threats are combining forces to come after us. And it's time that the church stands and rises up against it.
Yep. Okay, so on this show and from Israel, I cannot promote Christianity, and I don't believe that that is the ultimate way to serve God. And I think that the Torah is the more authentic version of things. That's just the bottom line from this end. But I do agree very much about the twin threats, which I think are twin threats throughout the world. There are twin threats to any identity today. And that twin threat is throughout Europe and throughout the United States. It's to Israel as well. And it's Marxism, wokeism together with jihadism. That part I can't disagree on, okay? The solution, he spoke it in his identity. And I'll speak it in my identity, which is be a strong Israel, be a strong Jewish country, push back on wokeism, which undermines biblical values, push back on Islamism, which is a supremacist religion which tries to erase Israel and Judaism. It tries to erase Christianity as well. But I got to speak it from my perspective. And by the way, he would agree with me. He'd say, I'm American, you're Israeli, you got to speak it in your way. But we agree on the diagnosis and the prognosis. Okay, the diagnosis is these 2 forces want to destroy Israel, and the prognosis is that we have to. This disease is going to come to us. We got to fight it, and we got to strengthen it through identity and through also realizing what these guys are doing. And if it's to fight them with the law, if it's to make things illegal, if to be like, yeah, do not have the mosque and the muezzin blare out at 5 a.m. in New York City or in Israel, because that's their way of taking over. We can't let that happen. So what do you think, Malkah, about those twin challenges?
I think that what, Charlie Kirk was a staunch Christian. He was a really Christian, and he made he'd minced no words about it. I think what he's really saying here, though, is that he wants what he sees as the American way of life is a place where Bible-believing people can feel comfortable and safe, and that they don't have to feel like they have to make themselves small, like they have to have some kind of guilt, that they have to minimize their own faith so that other faiths can maximize themselves and then suddenly take over. And this is a phenomenon which is now happening around the world. A United Kingdom is seeing it, France is seeing it, Norway is seeing it, Ireland is seeing it. It's not like an Islamic search for rights and equality in a place that is difficult to live in. It has become a certain kind of takeover, a certain kind of overbearing. Flags flying everywhere, calls to prayer everywhere, Arabic everywhere. And people are nervous that their own cultural integrity can't stand up to what they see as like a certain intentional onslaught. It's not like just a lot of people have come in and now we have to make sure our culture is also good. It's like an intentional, some kind of an effort is happening to reduce their culture and raise up this other culture until their own home culture, their original indigenous culture, goes extinct.
Malkah, there's a comment that I want to get to, and that's not the one. That's not the one. Here it is. Sock2 writes, Yishai, are you comparing jihadist Muslims to gays and lesbians? No. What I'm saying is I wasn't comparing them. I was saying that wokeism works together with wokeism, Marxism works together with jihadism. And the way it works is like this. It's a two-step. The two-step is like this. First, wokeism undermines family, history, security. Okay, it like in America, it tells you your history is bad, you're always evil, you're always colonialist, you're always apartheid, and all these like words that they use about you. Then it undermines family by introducing all these alternative systems of human relationships and equates them. And then it also erases your security forces, your army, weakens your army. It's against your strength. It defunds the police, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And basically, it makes people into a total mush. It makes them into total selfishness because they're not part of anything. They're not part of history. They're not part of family. And they're not part of mutual defense. So people are left to themselves. Now, when people are completely detached from the societal missions, they become jello. People, when they have no identity, I forgot, it undermines their religion. How could I forget? It undermines their religion. So undermines religion, and undermines family, undermines security, and undermines history. These are these are the bulwarks of identity. When you undermine those things, then people become jello. They become mush. They're nothing. And then comes the jihad and clamps right down, and everybody's thankful that the jihad has come to their rescue to give them purpose and identity. Now I understand what I have to do. Now I understand my domestic role. Now I understand my what I can conquest that I need to do. And now I have some kind of mission in life, which is a human being needs it so much. So therefore, Marxism, wokeism works together with jihadism. This sentence, the way the Saktu writes it, is tricky because it makes it look like, well, jihadism, which is very much the opposite of the gay LGBT thing, these are two opposite things. Seems like, wait a minute, these don't make sense together. But in fact, it works together to undermine the society. It's actually a 1-2 step. First, it's wokeism, progressivism, then it's jihadism. That's the way that works. I hope that I made that clear. And of course, there's a lot more to discuss on that. And Charlie Kirk was definitely a guy who pushed that. So Malkah, we talked about the love of traveling to Israel and feeling that this is the land of the Bible, and the understanding that Palestinian Authority is a despicable terrorist gang. Charlie understood that. The idea of the Sabbath as an important pillar in relationship with God and an antidote to much of the digitalization and addiction that we have today. And number 3, the danger of the union between woke Marxism and jihadism. And I think that Charlie Kirk was on all those, and we saw eye to eye on many of those things. And that's why he's celebrated right now as a hero in Israel. That doesn't mean that he doesn't think that Israel's perfect. And it doesn't mean that I agree with him and he agrees with me on every issue. But I think that it was a great merit to know him, to have him around. And on the whole, he was a tremendous force for good, for dialogue, and for holding up values. And he was taken down for that.
Right. I actually think he really does represent a certain strong, level-headed, proud, faith-based America. And I think that this attack on him was an attack on that kind of America. And I hope it will serve as a wake-up call to America. I love America. I'm a very proud Israeli. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to live. I believe in this country. But I know how our story ends. So do you guys watching the show, right? If you're a Bible reader, we may go up, we may go down, we may go a little bit sideways, but we know how the story ends. We don't know how the story of America ends. And so it is really up to the people of America to be vigilant in shaping and crafting their country. Charlie Kirk was all about that. He was an America first person who understood that his country was special, and that if he wanted to keep it special, he had to dedicate himself to the moral and intellectual clarity of the young people. And he did that with incredible passion. It's a real pity that he is lost. But with God's help, more people will rise up to help that beautiful country to continue to be strong and clear and go in the right direction. I think it's good for the world. We really want to bless you, America. Our condolences, really, to all of America, frankly, especially to the Kirk family, but to all of America on this horrible loss. But may this only serve as the Sabbath there's a big awakening to the Sabbath now as a result of his passing or his murder. Let's just be honest. May other great values also come to the forefront, become part of the public discussion, and may we see good days ahead.
Malkah Fleisher, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I want you to know that people miss you, and so you have to make every effort. I know you've been busy bringing the kids back to school, etc., but we need you back on the show always. People need you, and people need that Malkah energy throughout the world. So thank you very much, Malkah, and let's keep fighting. Let's start this week strong together, and let's rededicate ourselves to also making Sabbath special. If the nations are going to take upon themselves Sabbath, then we got to make our Sabbath even holier and even more meaningful. In the comment section, Yo puts up the link of Charlie's book, Stop in the Name of God, Why Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life. Who came up with that name, Stop in the Name of God? That is just good. That is just good stuff. All right. I remind you, folks, that we don't allow proselytizing on our show. So thank you very much for joining the conversation. But there's no proselytizing. This is a Jewish show from the land of Israel. Malkah Fleisher, God bless you so much. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much. Have a great week.
All right. God bless you, Malkah. Thank you for helping us start the week right. This is Yishai Fleisher. I am broadcasting from the land of Israel, from Judea. You're a part of it wherever you are. Don't forget to super chat. Super chat is a great way for me to read your comment and for you to support the show. Thank you very much. Now, the big news other than the Charlie Kirk murder last week was the story of Israel attacking in Qatar. Let's watch a short video about Israel's attack in Qatar and what happened and the fallout.
This is ILTV on the hour. We're bringing you the biggest headlines and stories from the Middle East in just 5 minutes. I'm Shosh Budrosian, and today is day 705 of the war in Gaza. Let's get into all the top headlines at this hour. Right now, the IDF is issuing immediate evacuations.
All right, so this is the evacuations issue that they're trying to get people out, and that's very important. But I want to get to the issue of Qatar, so let's get to that. Okay, here we go.
Leadership in Doha, Qatar, according to Israeli media. Although Israeli officials were optimistic after the attack that they succeeded in taking out Hamas's top leadership, according to Israeli media, Khan is now reporting that Israel had informed the United States that the chances the strike had been successful has decreased significantly. Israel has said since October 7th, Hamas leaders have profited significantly from this war as their own people continue to suffer in Gaza and have been standing in the way of reaching a ceasefire and a hostage deal. Ynet is now reporting the attack took place just minutes after the Hamas negotiating delegation finished their meeting, which was reported earlier that the meeting was ongoing. Therefore, the leaders are believed to have not been inside that apartment. We still don't know exactly the outcome of the operation yet. Hamas says the strike killed 5 of its members but failed to kill its senior leaders. Although Hamas has provided no proof, Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke for the first time about Operation Summit of Fire hours after it took place, saying the decision to strike them came after Hamas took responsibility for the terror attack that killed 6 innocent Israelis on Monday at a bus stop in Jerusalem.
All right, so that was the report. Basically, Israel struck Qatar after Hamas took credit for killing 6 Jews. And we all know that Qatar has been housing the Hamas leadership for a long time and funding them. I want to understand whether it was a success or a failure. What's the Arab world thinking about this? There's been a lot of condemnation on Israel since that attack in Qatar. Has it been a net positive or net negative? To help us understand what's going on in this is the one and only Dr. Mordechai Kedar, who was a senior lecturer in Bar Ilan at the Bessa Center, is the author of books, is Israel's really senior analyst on Arab affairs, and also the one of the creators of Newsreel, a Israeli news website. Dr. Kedar, thank you so much for being with us. As usual, we love having you on. Qatar, did that work out or not? Did we hit it or did we not hit it?
Of course, we hit. The question is, who was got rid of in this hit? And there are all kinds of versions. Definitely 5 minor leaders who were there. AIDS and the son of Khalil Chaya was there, got killed, while the chiefs, like 5 or 6 of them, it's unclear. So far, we didn't see them in the media. So far, no official announcement was published, neither by Hamas nor by Qatar. And this whole vague picture apparently is meant to prevent any further Israeli attempt to get rid of them if they are still alive. So this is the situation. Whatever I know is from the media. I don't have any clandestine sources in Qatar. And actually, I already, in 2013, like 12 years ago, I published a whole article in English. It is Know Thine Enemy. And this is about Qatar. And I describe why, when I explain why Qatar is the worst enemy which Israel ever had, because it is under a mask, while others are going in, without any veil, and people know about them being an enemy. Qatar is hiding, and this is much worse and much more dangerous. So already more than 12 years ago, I understood that Qatar is an enemy. However, in this action, which Israel carried out on last Wednesday, there are some good aspects and some problematic aspects. The good aspects is that Israel proved to everyone in the Middle East that there is no safe haven for terrorists, and those who deserve to be shut down will be shut down at some point and at some place, even if it is not on, let's say, clearly hostile land like Hania, who was targeted in Iran. It could be on the soil of a country which apparently is, I wouldn't say friendly, but definitely has relations with Israel, because after all, Israel had an official representation in Qatar during the 90s. It was on a low-grade office of commerce in Qatar under Israeli flag, but they shut it down when the second Intifada started in October of 2000. And Qatar is the mediator between us and Hamas. So Qatar apparently assumed that it has an immunity from Israel action, and not only Qatar, but everybody who is on Qatari soil also enjoys the asylum which Qatar can provide. However, Israel, what they did in this action is a signal to everybody in the world that a terrorist will be targeted wherever he is, even if it's on a friendly country. And here, on one side, it is good, but on the other side, it is a problem, because don't forget that Hamas people are once in a while are going to Egypt as well. In the negotiations, Egypt is also a negotiator. So what? Egypt should expect an Israeli air raid on Egyptian soil in order to get rid of some Hamas leaders in Cairo, for example. And let's say if they are in Turkey, is Turkey also should be afraid of Israeli raid on Istanbul or in Ankara or in any other?
But Dr. Kedar, but Dr. Mordechai, you can't compare those in the sense that, or maybe you can't compare them, but Qatar was not, they didn't happen to be there. They weren't just hanging out there on their way to some other place. They were being protected, fed, directed by Qatar. Qatar was involved with them. To make Qatar's Qatar's leadership is Hamas in its ideology. They were protecting them, housing them. They were giving that cover for the enemies of Israel and making sure that they wouldn't get bombed there. Instead, they were living this high life in this complex that they had there, and receiving every care and basically being directed by that Qatari regime, the Qatari royal family. So, like, they are. Let me ask you in simple terms: are they not?
Wait a minute.
Are they not complicit in the October 7th massacre? Are they not complicit with Hamas?
First of all, the way you describe Qatar as the host of Hamas, you can repeat it, but change the name to Turkey. Turkey hosts them in the same way, in the same fashion, in the same manner. And not only this, don't forget the support of Turkey to Hamas through the years when they sent the Marmara ship in 15 years ago, and in many other instances as well. So should Turkey also be afraid that Israel will attack Istanbul or someplace in Istanbul or in Ankara, wherever those Hamas fighters, those Hamas terrorists are hiding or are living? So,
I mean, shouldn't the answer to that be yes?
This is the answer which Turkey gives to itself when Turkish officials here, everybody in Israel talks about the fact that no place is safe for terrorists. So immediately the Turks ask themselves the same question. Are we included in this everywhere? So
Well, isn't that the signal that Netanyahu wanted to send? He did, right?
No
he
idea.
wanted to send. I mean, that is what he said. He said, "I want to send a signal that terrorists cannot be hiding anywhere." And if you claim that you killed 6 Jews in one day and 4 in Gaza, and you're hiding out in this your terror funding state, then yeah, you're going to be under attack there. Isn't that fair in war?
Okay, so you attack Turkey imagine, and immediately Turkey says, okay, this is a casus belli, means opposed for a war, and declares a war against Israel, and blocks the sea from any naval traffic which goes to Israel. And the Turks can do it. They have a giant navy, and they can block the sea. All the import, all the export from Israel, or most of it, the heavy cargoes which come into Israel and from Israel, which you cannot use airplanes for, will be blocked.
You mean in the Mediterranean?
In the Mediterranean, yes. For example, or Turkey will announce, it doesn't have to do it, announce that the Israeli airspace is dangerous. Which airliner or airline company will dare to send even a little airplane to here if Turkey declares such a thing? This is something which you have to be prepared to such a thing, to a war with Turkey. I'm not sure that Israel is willing to start a new front while we still have the front in Gaza, in Judea and Samaria, in Lebanon, we didn't finish yet, in Syria, Yemen.
But did I not read, I think on Arutz Sheva, that you said that this sent a very strong message to the Arab world, and the Arab world is quaking and recognizes that Israel is willing to strike, and that Netanyahu is in a kind of more warlike mood, or, what's that perspective?
Look, what happens is that actually tomorrow is going to be I think tomorrow and Tuesday, there will be a 1 day or 2 day conference in Qatar, which I think dozens of countries will come, will send their delegations from the Arab world and the Islamic world, in order to express their concern about what Israel did to Qatar and to support Qatar. And the delegates, I'm already telling you, will compete with each other who will condemn Israel in a harsher way. And the reason is there are some reasons for this. One is that Qatar succeeded to position itself all over the world as a very, very important country. First of all, they bought many politicians, many media people, many people in the academic institutions, and they are supporting people from left, right, and center to that degree. let's say, they support the Clinton Foundation, according to the IRS, and also they are partners with Witkoff, who is in Trump's inner circle for many years. So they don't discriminate between Democrats and Republicans. They buy everybody whom they can as a kind of investment. After all, they have unlimited amounts of money, and they invest in people in Europe, in Israel, as we hear here and there, in America, in many places, and of course in the Arab world. And therefore, many people owe their property or their wealth to the Qataris. Not only this, many of those who received money from Qatar did it without reporting to the authorities, to the tax authorities. Means that Qatar is holding to a very sensitive information about these people, about their dirty business, which they didn't declare. So if they don't vote with Qatar or don't speak in favor of Qatar, they are in big danger that Qatar will leak the fact that on this and that day, go check his bank account, he got some money from us and he never declared it. So people are very much afraid of Qatar. And there's another reason why people will come to Qatar in order to pay the lip service to Qatar, at least. But there is another reason why many, especially in the Arab world, but not only, will come to Qatar to bow to the Qataris and to pay the lip service. And this is Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera, with the years, became the heavy stick of the Qatari regime against everybody whom they don't like. They publish all kinds of information, whether correct or not, I have no idea, but very sensitive information, very shameful information. If somebody becomes, or as they see, the enemy of Qatar. And therefore, everybody who knows about himself that he had some kind of mischief here and there, these people are very much afraid that his mischief was smuggled or was leaked to Al Jazeera, and Al Jazeera will publish all kinds of bad things about him if he doesn't come to Qatar to express his concern about what Israel did to Qatar. So here we are. Tomorrow you will see a long line of airliners who will come to Qatar in order to bring the leaders of the Islamic world, in order to make sure that the poets, means that the rich men of the town, will see that they came and will write down, yes, they came, and therefore they will not act against them. This is what happens with Qatar, and tomorrow we'll see the promenade and the long line of people who will come to Qatar, and Al Jazeera will show one by one in order to show how popular Qatar is and how obedient the whole Islamic and the Arab world is.
Okay, so we have to respect Qatar. They're really smart, and they have used their money very strategically, and they brought in the World Cup, and they have positioned themselves by owning half of London and buying chairs in universities in the United States and paying money to many PR firms in Washington, etc. Like, these guys have worked very hard and very smartly in owning Al Jazeera, developing Al Jazeera. You know, to me, it's therefore the first moment of health when Israel was the little boy who said the emperor has no clothes, and said, yeah, you guys are jihadis. You guys are teaching jihadism to the world. You guys are not the kind of suit wearing, nice guy, businessman, Bedouin face. You're something else altogether. And the strike against it was supposed to be like, yes, you know, let's show the world what you're really about. But you're saying that hasn't necessarily exactly happened. Also, I wanted to ask you, what's with the Saudis? What's with the Saudis? Where's their hate for Qatar?
Wait a minute. Even President Trump, who so far was and I hope still is wholeheartedly standing with Israel. Even he could not say that he supports this action.
Right.
He said, I would do it another way, It's like, and don't forget, he got a whole airplane from the Qataris, and in the visit which he came to Qatar in order to ask for a loan or investment of $1 trillion, which was a couple of months ago when he came to the Emirates, to Saudi Arabia, and to Qatar, to the same thing. If he would say something in favor of what Israel did in Doha, maybe Qatar will say, hey, guy, forget about our money. And he can't allow himself. After now, he's bound to him. Don't forget the airbase, which the Americans have in Udeid, near Doha, also in Qatar. And this is sponsored by Qatar, operated by the Americans, but hosted by Qatar for free. And the Americans apparently don't want to lose this airbase. What will they do if the Qataris said, hey, guys, you support Israel, please, this is the door out.
So bottom line is that these guys are like the best atakia of all time. They're like the best double-faced of the jihadis, like of all time. They like have the Americans eating out of their hands. They have an American airbase. They've given the American president a big gift. They're gonna, do a deal of $1 trillion. And at the same time, they host the Hamas. They fund the Hamas. Yet they dress themselves up as negotiators. And yet they, they called for the destruction of Israel. They have this Al Jazeera. They have these campus networks. It's like this tiny little genius country. I have to say, like hats off to the bad guys here.
Look, as we say in Hebrew, they can dance in few wedding parties in one evening.
Right. I think that's a phrase in almost every language, to dance at two weddings.
Okay. So,
okay.
So this is.
So what about? So why don't you give me a piece of advice about how to fight them? How do you fight these Qataris?
There is another thing which should be pointed out. Look, Israel devastates Gaza, especially during the last days. Israel bombs in Lebanon whenever and wherever Israel wants. Israel hits Syrian targets whenever and wherever Israel chooses. Israel attacked the Houthis in Yemen, actually killed most of the members of the government, and nobody in the world is doing anything against it. On the contrary. But one time Israel targets some Hamasniks, terrorists in Doha, the whole world, especially the Arab world, the Islamic world, are shouting and screaming. And what when they come to conference and they condemn? And okay, so here you see the difference between attacking the godmother, Qatar, which sponsors them all, apparently, in one way or another, and other countries which are failing countries. So here you are. Hypocrisy? Yes, you can call it hypocrisy.
Let's look together, Dr. Mordechai Kedar. Let's watch a short video about the strikes in Yemen, and we'll get your thoughts on that.
כך נראתה בירת תימן ומעוז השליטה של החות'ים היום בצהריים, זמן קצר לאחר תקיפות חיל האוויר. מבצע שזכה לשם צלצולי פעמונים.
אנחנו הכינו בהם היום, מן האוויר שוב, במתקני הטרור שלהם, בבסיסי טרור, עם הרבה מאוד טרוריסטים, וגם עם מתקנים אחרים. אנחנו נמשיך ונכה. כל מי שמכה בנו, כל מי שתוקף אותנו, אנחנו נגיע אליו.
התקיפה המדוברת כוונה לכמה יעדים באזור סאנה. מטה משרד ההגנה של החות'ים שבמרכז העיר, משרד ההסברה התימני שאמון על הפצת נאומי המנהיג עבד אל-מאליק אל-חות'י והצהרותיו של הדובר הצבאי יחיא סרי. גם משרד האוצר ותחנת הכוח טייבה בדרום הבירה הותקפו יחד עם המתחם הממשלתי בעיר אל-חזם שבעומק תימן. זה קורה כמה ימים לאחר הפגיעה בנמל התעופה רמון ולאחר שיגורי הכטב"מים בימים האחרונים, פחות משבועיים אחרי שצה"ל חיסל את ראש הממשלה של החות'ים אחמד דראווי יחד עם 9 שרים נוספים. למעשה, רק 4 שרים בממשלתם נותרו בין החיים. חיל האוויר תקף באמצעות מטוסי קרב שהמריאו לתימן יחד עם מתדלקים מעל מפרץ אילת ודרך ים סוף. בערוצי החות'ים דיווחו על כמה הרוגים ופצועים בתקיפות. ארגון הטרור התימני מנסה לשדר עסקים כרגיל. בכיר החות'ים נאסר א-דין עאמר צייץ ברשת איקס כי התוקפנות הציונית לא תשפיע על הפעולות של כוחותינו שימשיכו לסייע לתושבים ברצועת עזה.
يستهدفون الأحياء المدنية والحدائق العامة المتنزهات للمواطنين. هذا هو الكيان الصهيوني الغاصب. هذا هو الكيان الأرعب.
לנוכח העקשנות של החות'ים, לא נראה שמבצע צלצולי פעמונים בתימן יגרום להם לעצור את השיגורים לעבר ישראל, אבל עד שימצא פתרון אסטרטגי לחזית התימנית, בצה"ל ממשיכים לגבות מהם מחיר.
Okay, Dr. Kedar, I mean, that's a lot of strikes against Yemen. That is some serious, serious stuff. First thing, are we defeating these Yemeni terrorists? Are we crushing this Houthi regime? Well, like, we killed most of their government. Israel killed most of their government. Are they done for, or did they keep going? How do you defeat them? What impact does this have on the region?
Look, don't forget that only not last night, the night before, between Friday and Saturday, they launched another missile against Israel. So Israel cannot afford such a thing, and Israel definitely strikes. The only problem is that they are hit and they continue, just like Hamas, because they are in a jihad. In a jihad, you don't look at the casualties, but your casualties, you continue the jihad because you are fighting the fight of Allah, and Allah takes his martyrs, and then you have to continue with the war. And this is what happens in Gaza, and this is what happens in Yemen as well. So really, Israel will continue to hit them, and they will continue to hit Israel until one side will give up.
Until one side will give up? How do you make them give up?
Starting with striking the leader, just like Nasrallah. When Nasrallah was murdered, was
assassinated,
got ridden off.
Yeah.
The world got rid of Nasrallah. We rid the world of Nasrallah. Since then, the first deterioration of Hezbollah started, because this organization is actually like an orbit around one person. This is one of the characteristics of the Shia leadership. The Houthis are also Shia, and this is why Abdurrahman Houthi, their leader, is hiding. He is never in public. He speaks to his people through video conference, not directly, and he knows why. We all know why, and this is the problem. I really don't know how long it will continue with Yemen. It depends also on what happens in Gaza, because they claim that they are fighting only as long as Hamas are fighting in order to support Hamas. What will happen with Yemen, with the Houthis, when Hamas hopefully will stop fighting, when they realize that they are marching towards the end? I really don't know if the Houthis will stop or not, because don't forget that the Houthis are not only supporting Gaza, they also support and defend Iran as the front line of Iran. So things are not so sure as we wanted here in Israel, yet it doesn't exempt us from continuing to fight against our enemies in order to convince them that their war against us will cost them way beyond what they try us to pay.
Dr. Mordechai Kedar is the researcher at the Bessel Center for Strategic Studies of Bar Ilan, along with many other research centers. He studies radical Islam, gained fame for appearing on Al Jazeera, served for 25 years as a lieutenant colonel Israeli military intelligence, still in reserves in Central Command, and is one of the founders of Newsreel. But wait, there was one more question I wanted to ask you, Dr. Kedar, which is what happened with the Saudi-Qatari tension? Why can't we exploit that? Why do they seem like the Saudis seem to be back on the anti-Israel train and they're standing up for Qatar? They're saying that our attack there was disgusting and all that business. I thought that they had a tension between them, which was, you're the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and we could get to work together in undermining this jihadist regime. What happened to that?
You can add to this the Emirates as well, because the Saudi Arabia and Emirates and Bahrain and Egypt actually put a blockade on Qatar between June 2017 and the beginning of 2021. Means like 3.5 years, which Qatar was under a blockade put on it by these 4 countries. Yet, you're right, by the amazing what we see today, that Saudi Arabia is again together with Qatar against us. And here it is.
I have to say, boo to that. Boo, boo. Oh, man.
The Saudis are concerned about the announcements of Israelis that Israel will attack the Hamas terrorists everywhere. Because they ask themselves, is everywhere includes Riyadh or Jeddah or both?
I thought that the Hamas is illegal. The Islamic Brotherhood is illegal in Saudi Arabia, and they want to get rid of them as well. The ISIS folks and all those folks, they want to get rid of them. I thought they'd be happy that we're getting rid of them.
Yes, but still Hamas are allowed to come to Hajj. And this can be a good opportunity for Israel to attack them.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, in spite of the hatred which the Saudis have against Hamas, they, at least theoretically, can invite them in order maybe to replace Egypt or replace Qatar as the negotiator. And let's say, theoretically, that Qatar decides to leave the negotiations with Israel because Israel attacked Doha. So who will come in? Egypt, of course, which is already as a negotiator. But who knows? Maybe Saudi Arabia will pose itself, will suggest itself as another mediator. Why not? Let's gain some points in the Trump administration. So they will swallow this bitter pill, and they will invite the Hamasniks to come to them. And of course, they will hug them as if they are friends. And yes, they represent them. So what? Israel will attack them on the Saudi soil? So this is what made Saudi Arabia today also come to Qatar. And don't forget that there is another point which we should understand. Hamas, although it is defined as a terror organization in Israel, in the United States, and in some European countries as well, it is not defined as a terrorist organization all over the Arab and the Islamic world. No one. They are viewed as a legitimate Islamic liberation movement for Palestine. Competitor, or maybe side by side with the PLO, the Arab and the Islamic world in general don't see them as enemies of the Arab world or the Islamic world. We should always bear it in mind. So when we attack Hamas in Gaza, they understand. But when we attack Hamas in Qatar or in any other Arab countries like Jordan, as we tried to get rid of Khaled Mashal like more than 20 years ago, it is something which they cannot accept, because Hamas is quasi-legitimate organization for liberation of Palestine.
Dr. Kedar, is the Abraham Accords in a shaky place right now?
More shaky than it was before Wednesday. I wouldn't say shaky. I would say challenged, because the Emiratis do have challenges too often when it comes to Israel, when it comes to sovereignty, settlements, as they call them, and of now the activity against Hamas.
So the Qatar strike was hard for them to swallow. The announcement of Israel, the idea of the assertion of sovereignty was hard for them to swallow. The lack of quick defeat of Hamas and the what is broadcast as a humanitarian crisis in Gaza is hard for them to swallow. So they're in a kind of tricky place vis-a-vis Israel. It's hard for them to be friendly with Israel. Am I right?
Yes, these are the problems. Don't forget that the Emiratis and the Bahrainis and the Moroccans are always between the heavy stick of declaring that they are traitors and the hard place of the willingness to continue the relations with Israel.
Last question. What's going on with refugees? This is the question that puzzles me more than anything. We have 2 million Gazans. We all agree, even people on the Israeli right who don't think there's a big humanitarian catastrophe happening in Gaza, everybody agrees that life isn't sweet there. Everybody understands that there should be refugees that can get out of harm's way. Where is the boats to pick up these people? Where is the opportunity? They're begging to get out. Where is this thing? Why isn't this been made a number one priority of the Israelis, of the Americans, of the French, of the Spanish? Who knows what? Where are the refugees? Why isn't anybody helping them get out?
First of all, nobody wants terrorists, and you cannot vet people when they are in Gaza because no official will come to Gaza in order to make sure that Hamas fighters or Hamas terrorists are not climbing the ships and go to any other country. No country wants, although there are many countries who would accept refugees, they don't want terrorists, and I understand it. This is one thing. Second thing, as much as I understand, the country which should have been forced to accept refugees is Qatar. Because Qatar sponsored Hamas. Qatar is responsible for what happens in Gaza. And Qatar can host them in the dormitories when they put all the players and the visitors and the trainers in the World Cup 2.5 years ago, the Mundial soccer games in Qatar. These dormitories are empty. They could host who knows how many thousands of Gazans with no problem. And there are hotels in Qatar. No one would live in the streets. This is one thing. Second thing, the Qatari airline company has like 270 airplanes, more or less.
Wow.
Average capacity, 300 passengers.
By the way, the reason I say wow is because El Al has got like 60 airplanes, right? So they have, what did you say, 270 40. Airplanes?
Around 40. Yes, there are 260 around. And for them to take all the Gazans from El Arish International Airport in Egypt, all the way to Qatar, which is a 2-hour flight, would take them altogether around a week easily. Under pressure, it will be in 5 days, if all the airplanes are recruited to this. So, technically, Qatar should have solved this problem long ago. And from the moral point of view, definitely, because Qatar is responsible for what happened in Gaza. But unfortunately, the world will not twist the arm of the Qataris behind their back because of what we talked about the money and the influence which they bought with the years. And this is, but from the moral point of view, Qatar should have done.
Okay. Well, I hope that we can hold their feet to the fire. You know that Secretary of State of the United States, Rubio, is in the country. He was at the Western Wall doing a lot of praying. I hope that they get to work to start solving this jihad problem, this Gaza problem, this refugee problem, Qatar problem. We got a lot of issues to deal with. And as you said beforehand, we still haven't dealt with the Hamas of Judea and Samaria, and we haven't finished off the Hamas of Gaza and the issues in Lebanon. So, and I had on
Yishai, we cannot leave this stage without mentioning that the Palestinian Emirate plan in Judea and Samaria is continuing, without mentioning details, but definitely the Emirate of Hebron is on its way. And everybody should bear it in mind. The PA will be at the first stage only to the north from Jerusalem. And if the experiment in Hebron will succeed, apparently most cities will follow it and depart peacefully from the Palestinian Authority. And this will be the end of this nonsense named the Palestinian state, which inevitably will turn into a Hamas state, either by elections, as already happened in January 2006, or by coup d'etat, as happened in Gaza in June 2007. These two scenarios can repeat themselves, and therefore a Palestinian state is a prescription for another terror Hamas ISIS state, as we saw in Gaza. Therefore, the one and only solution, which will bring stability, prosperity, and good life to both Palestinians and Israelis, is the Emirate solution, combined with the sovereignty plan of Smotrich, which are like back-to-back two plans. One deals with the areas which Israel will keep, the sovereignty, and the other one deals with the areas in the cities which Israel will not keep. And this is actually two plans which conjunct into each other to become one consolidated plan.
So there are Arabs and Mukhtars and Sheikhs in the Hebron area where I work who are looking
Clans.
to exit. They're looking to exit the PA. They're looking to come under the rubric of Israel, or under, as you say it, a kind of cultural autonomy where they have control of their big cities and their areas. But the bottom line is they want out of the PA, out of that arrangement, into what they call the Abraham Accords, but it means under the, it's a kind of confederation with Israel and away from the PA control. And we know that there's a lot of interest in it, but we also know that one of the players that is the most disinterested is actually the Israeli security services, the Israeli Shabak, which have a hard time with the idea of Arabs leaving the partners that they've learned to work with, which is the PA. And so we have a big problem there in training our own Israeli people to accept the idea of the dissolution of the PA and to accept the idea that Arabs are going to come under some kind of Israeli rubric, Abraham Accords, autonomy, however you want to call it. I would call it a little bit differently, like a resident alien status or Ger Toshav status, whatever. The bottom line is, do you agree that we have issues within our own ranks to accept such an idea?
Of course, and as I checked recently, and I found that in Israel, the Shabak, means the security, and the army, and everybody is under the policy, or should follow the policy of the government. The government makes a decision, and everybody should perform and execute the policy of the government. It's not vice versa. The government is not run or manipulated by any organization as powerful as it could be, like the Shabak. They still should obey orders in this country. This is democracy. And since the government represents the will of the people, if the government decides to divert its work from the PA to the clans in each and every city, this is how the Shin Bet, the Shabak, and the army and whoever is connected to these issues should work. No other choice.
This issue is a big one, Dr. Kedar. We got to talk about it more. I want people to understand it. It is it's part of the complex picture of this area. And as I'm sitting here broadcasting from Judea, you're talking about stuff that's happening just kilometers away from me. And how many times have Arabs come up to me and said, just give us residency. Just give us residency in your country. Just let us get out from under the thumb of
we are
this.
not going to give residency. We are not giving, Yishai, we are not giving Israeli residency. And here, by your permission, I have now another interview in one of the Arab satellite channels. And I apologize for having to stop now.
Give us,
and
fine,
I thank you so much.
Just give us a bracha in Arabic. Give us a blessing in Arabic, and I'll let you go. Go ahead. Come on.
Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace upon you, the mercy of Allah and His blessings. Thank you so much, Yishai.
Dr. Mordechai
And Shana
Kedar,
Tova.
thank you so much for every single moment of your time. I appreciate it so much. Dr. Kedar is one of Israel's most esteemed experts on the Middle East, and it is an absolute pleasure to have him on. He's also a researcher at the Bessa Center at Bar Ilan, and he is famous for his studies of radical Islam and being on Al Jazeera and being in the Israeli military intelligence, and also one of the heads of Newsreel. So thank you very much, Dr. Kedar. Awesome to be with you. All right, folks. Thank you very much. A vacuum, I don't know, a fascinating interview. Thank you very much. And I want to ask everybody right now that wants to comment and discuss with me the issues that we've been issuing. You could do so by super chatting. That's right. Super chat, super chat, super chat, super chat, super chat, super chat, super chat. I need a little break here. We just did 2 interviews in a row. So let's take a little bit of a breather, of a break. It is live television, right? It's live television. And there's a lot that is going on here, and a lot to keep in the old braineroo here, and a lot to pray for, and a lot to do. And as we're Jewish, there's a lot to agree on and disagree on. But Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people are alive. I did a great tour today of the hilltops for some potential donors, and we saw beautiful synagogues being built out in the desert. Really, like, there's so many dark things and there's so many things of light. I know that out there in the America sphere, the Charlie Kirk thing was absolutely a heartbreaker. But we start a new week today, and let's somebody just said Malkah hasn't been on since before you went to Texas. What's up? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We just had her on as we started the show today. So you missed that, Xavier Hinkle. I don't know. But she was on today. All right, we're going to go on in just 1 second. Let's drink a little water. And I want to see some super chats that will help us with the show and help us with what we do. And don't forget to buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. Buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. And I need some more water. Who's going to bring me more water? Where's my faithful crew? Hashem, please help me get more water. I need some more water. Maybe somebody can hear me. We got to have a little levity out here, friends. We got to have a little levity, and there's a lot more issues. Thank you. My team is very loving. Thank you, the great Malkah. I told you she's the show hostess with the mostest. Please check out buymeacoffee.com/Yishai, and also our activist website, which is called fightforisrael.org. Fightforisrael.org. Joe Cruiser, bad guys get a bruising. With Joe the Cruiser, he sent 70 ZAR. What is a ZAR? ZAR, what is a ZAR anyway? South African Rand. 70 ZAR equals 0.57 US dollars. That is awesome. Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much for that. That's a big blessing, and I appreciate it. And I'm sending you back blessings. Any help is appreciated. Okay. Any part of it is awesome. So thank you, Joe, cruising for a bruising. And John Blake sends in $10. Thank you very much. Come on, you can throw in a question with that or a blessing as well. Thank you very much, John. Much appreciated. You guys are beautiful, and folks all over the world are absolutely beautiful. Am Yisrael Chai. Okay. Should we get back to, you know what? We'll just wait for the water to come in. When the water comes in, then we'll get back to some more content. There's tons of content that we have to go to. Here's Chris. Chris sends, I stand with Israel. He sends $199. This is like the $199 store. $199. He going once, going twice. Come on, Yishai Fleisher show $199. Yishai Fleisher TV. Who's on it? Who wants to give a little more? $199. Do I hear any others? Thank you very much, Chris. And I'm sending you blessings. Says John Blake. The show is already a blessing. Well, that's nice of you. That's nice of you to say. I appreciate that very much, John. Thank you very much. And we have crazy content coming out this week. Says Chris, $199. I'm a super chatterbox. Thank you very much, Chris. You know, we got crazy content coming out this week. We're going to have videos of Musab Hassan Yusuf, the Green Prince. We're going to have Cleaning Up with Hayovel. We're going to have a lot of really great stuff. And here comes that water. Thank you. What a crew. What a wife. Oh, look, it's got ice in it. Baruch Hashem. Oh, my gosh. Come on, let's drink some water together, people. Come on, it's been a long day. Oh, that is cold. Thank you, Lord. And I said a blessing beforehand, so please don't doubt that. Oh, yeah. Says Gary, can you open a Bitcoin donating wallet address for you? You're right. You are right. Gots to do that. Okay, let's get back to content. I really, by the way, oh, look, and Frog 1 Dog 2 gifted 5 Yishai Fleisher memberships. That's amazing. It's a great way to join our show and all that we do. And by the way, I just want you to know that when you give through the various channels and means, just so you know where it goes to 2 directions, either strengthening our broadcast team, which we need help in because we do a lot of broadcasting. And we really, I've been doing broadcasting for since 2003, but you know what? Since the war, we just took it to a completely different gear. We were in gear 4, went up to 5. Now we're at 6. When it's humming, when it's humming, at 140 kilometers an hour, whatever it is, 100 miles an hour when you kick it into 6th gear, you know what I'm talking about? That's where we're at in terms of video. That is an awesome, that's an awesome thing. Says Anne, you should listen to the Green Prince, and Green Prince will be on. He will definitely be on. And Beep Beep says, Yishai, love your show. And I appreciate that very much. Okay, guys. So, let's get back to work. We still have some teaching to do. You know what? Before we go on to any other teachings, I just want to say this last Torah portion was called Kitavo, which means when you come into the land. Can you just understand the simple fact that the Torah tells us about the land of Israel? It tells us its borders. It tells us its blessings. It tells us which fruits grow here properly. You understand what I'm saying? We're bound to this land. The Torah portion's name is as when you come into the land. When you come into the land. And we're coming into the land. And there's blessings. And by the way, the Torah portion also had curses. When you reject God. Let's not reject God. Here in Yishai Fleisher Show, we don't reject God. We love God. We want to be close to God. And Chris, going crazy, has now also sent us a blessing of $9.99, which is awesome. And Chris, I want to send you blessings. And I want to ask Hashem to come into your home, because anybody who loves Israel, Hashem wants to come into his home. Why do I say that? Because he says so, not because I'm not because I'm speaking for God. I'm just reading his book. All right, let's get back to business. We got important video files. So let's cover the breaking news in which Secretary, let me start that again for the clip that's going to come after the show. All right, folks, breaking news. Secretary of State Marco Rubio flew out to Israel, landed, went to the Western Wall. Let's hear his press conference in front of the airplane that took him to the land of Israel and understand why he came here to Israel specifically. Let's hear that. Let's go to Marco Rubio.
You guys see that plane flying around? Not crazy. What's up?
Who are you reading for today?
Come on, man. Go Gators. Big game at LSU. We'll see what happens.
What is your message to the Prime Minister on this trip?
Well, look, the U.S.-Israeli relationship is very strong. It continues to be strong. The president wants this conflict to end. He wants all the hostages out, all 48 of them, living and deceased. Obviously, we're concerned that events last week, he didn't like the way it went down. He's expressed that.
Okay, so the president of the United States wants to see the hostages released. I don't know why we hear that first. To me, we need the words victory over jihadism first. And the hostages second, way down. First and foremost is to destroy our enemies and have total victory. So I didn't really like this phrase that Rubio starts with, like, get the hostages. I think he's trying to please the Israeli public, but I'm not pleased by that.
Publicly, there's concerned that perhaps that could. We'll talk about what impact it's going to have on efforts to get all the hostages back, get rid of Hamas, and this war. That's the president's priority.
What leverage can the U.S. bring to bear on that?
Well, I don't know about leverage. Look, I mean, our relationship with Israel is very strong. Everybody knows that. I wouldn't call it leverage. I do think we have influence. I think because we've worked on so many things together. So we'll be there to express that and also to express the president's views, which is that he wants Hamas defeated. He wants the war to end. He wants all 48 hostages home, including those that are deceased. And he wants it all at once. Like, he wants all the hostages now, not 5 and 10 and piecemeal. And we'll have to discuss about how the events last week had an impact on the ability to achieve that in short order.
I mean, the Taliban just said
I'll get
that
you.
they're...
Go ahead. The Taliban
The
what?
Taliban is putting out a word that the U.S. has agreed to a prisoner swap. Mr. Secretary.
Well, I don't know. Look, our special envoy for people unlawfully detained has been having conversations for a while. I think he went there to explore what's possible. Obviously, it'll be the president's decision in terms of any trades or any exchanges. But we most certainly want any Americans or anyone who's being unlawfully detained to be released. And so he went there to explore what that would look like.
Are you fully supportive of an offensive into Gaza City? What are you going to talk to the Israelis about on that regard?
Yeah.
Are you supportive of the offensive in Gaza City?
I don't know if we should get into that. I mean, I'm not going to get into that in the media other than to say the president wants this to be finished with. And finished with meaning 48 hostages released all at once. Hamas no longer a threat. So we can move on to the next phase, which is how do you rebuild Gaza? How do you provide security? How do you make sure Hamas or anything like it never comes back again? That's the president's priority. That's always been his priority.
So I don't always understand this business. Like, get it done fast, get all the hostages, and get rid of Hamas. Like, I don't always understand that. Like, maybe it's not gonna work out that way. Maybe it's not gonna work out that you can have it all fast, get your hostages. Like, it's a war. It's a war. Wars don't like follow like this kind of like neat math. It's a war. And I think that we are not going to get it exactly the way we want it. And I think that it's sending the wrong message to me. I think the message should be Israel's got to defeat Hamas, destroy it, and clean out that Gaza Strip. Here come the refugees to, like Dr. Mordechai Kedar said, to Qatar or to Egypt, whatever. And okay, that's how we're going to move forward. I think to me, this is not exactly clear messaging. It's a messaging that sounds like a lot of pressure on Israel to seal it up fast. Seal it up fast is like, I had surgery some months ago. Imagine if somebody was like, yeah, doctor, come on, seal it up fast. Like, don't seal it up fast. Seal it up good. Don't go fast. I don't, when you're dealing with a very entrenched enemy, it's much more important to talk about the long range impact of doing it right.
And that's what we're going to try to move forward on. And part of what we're going to have to discuss as part of this visit is how the events of last week with Qatar impact that.
Do you think the Qataris will still work with the U.S.?
Okay, so there's definitely, as we talked about in the last segment with Kadar, there's definitely a question mark about the attack on Qatar. Look, Qatar plays an awesome double game. Okay, they play an exquisite double game. They fund Hamas, help plan the 7th of October, and, are in bed with the Americans and, have a very legitimate face. And by the way, there's a battle for legitimacy. And in many ways, globally speaking, Qatar is more legitimate than Israel. When was the last time you heard 170 countries vote on something against Qatar? But you have that at the UN all the time. So clearly Qatar is more legitimate than Israel, this Hamas supporting country.
I met with them, Vice President and I met with the Prime Minister yesterday. I know they had dinner with the President last night. So,
President of Qatar, that is.
We have a relationship with them as well. We've been working on a number of things with them. They've been, for example, very helpful in the DRC, Rwanda, or with the M23. They've been hosting those talks. So we had a visit there earlier this year. I did, and then went back a second time with the president. So they've been good partners on a number of fronts.
What about the president's plane, Mr. Secretary? Is there any questions or doubts that impacted in any way?
It never came up with me or in any conversation we had.
But do you think concerned at all that they may
follow through on their threat to do strikes again in Qatar?
Who's this, Israelis?
The Israelis.
Yeah, look, we're going to meet with them. We're going to talk about what the future holds and what I'm going to get a much better understanding of what their plans are moving forward. What's happened has happened. Obviously, we were not happy about it. The president was not happy about it. Now we need to move forward and figure out what comes next. Because at the end of the day, when all is said and done, there is still a group called Hamas, which is an evil group that still has weapons and is terrorizing. There is still 48 hostages that deserve to be released immediately, all at once. And there is still the hard work ahead of, once this ends, of rebuilding Gaza in a way that provides people a quality of life that they all want. And who's going to do that? And who's going to pay for it? And who's going to be in charge of it? So all that work is still there to be done. All that still needs to be dealt with.
You say you're not happy with this.
Okay, so what needs to be dealt with is the destruction of Hamas, the rescue of the hostages, and finally the issue of the rebuilding of Gaza. Okay, these are big things. As I've said to you, my friends, many times, I say to you again, there's really only one solution. That solution is Israeli sovereignty over Gaza. Okay, and getting rid of combatants, getting rid of non-combatants who are jihadists, and letting people free leave who want a different life somewhere else, and letting decent folks, Arabs who want to be residents in Israel, letting them have that opportunity as well. That's the solution, Israeli control. All these middle things, all these like get it done quick, it's not going to give solutions. And at the end, Qatar, they're playing an awesome double game, but they're enemies of Israel. And they are pro-jihad, pro-Hamas, and anti-America at the end of the day. And they play just a fabulous double game. Really, when I say fabulous, I just mean to say I respect them so much for being able to pull this off. You know, Israel's barely able to pull off legitimacy when it's the most legitimate country in the world. It has the most history of almost any country in the world in its land. It's an amazing thing, you know, and it's godly, it's biblical, it's historical, it's just, you know, and there was no other real, you know, sovereign there. So in Jerusalem. And so, okay, you know, like Israel's so legitimate, but we can't pull it off. And yet this like joke of a kingdom who's just very wealthy and knows how to strategically place that money has done a great job at playing a double game. I mean, everybody knows that they broadcast anti-American stuff through Al Jazeera, and yet they host the American army. You got to be smart to do it that way. And my hat's off to them. Okay. So Rubio wants to solve the problems, and the president not so happy about the attack in Qatar. United States president also has a vision for the beautification of Gaza, which I love. You know, I'd love to see that Gaza be beautiful and flourishing, flowering. I don't like when they talk about getting this done fast. I don't think that helps anybody. On the other hand, I can understand where they're coming from, because they just see that the Israeli PR machine is just in the pits vis-a-vis the war in Gaza and the strike on Qatar.
We ask the Israelis not to do this again?
I think the president's comments speak for themselves on that front. In essence, he didn't like the way it went down. But that said, it's not going to shake. Our relationship with Israel is going to remain strong. And sometimes, you know, things happen or come up in those relationships that perhaps you're not 100% aligned with or what have you. But it's not going to change the nature of our relationship with the Israelis. But we are going to have to talk about it. Primarily, what impact does this have? What happened? What impact does that have moving forward on what comes next?
Should Israel withdraw its troops from Gaza City in this Operation Gideon's Fury? Should it pull back from that invasion?
Yeah, we're not talking about that or anything.
So they're asking, should Israel pull back from Gaza City, from the Gaza City operation? And Rubio keeps saying, I'm not going there. I'm not going to discuss that. I want to talk about it with the Israelis. I have to say, I like Rubio's rhetoric. I like the way he talks. I like his very measured tone and language, and that he kind of not off the cuff. He's like, look, I want to talk to Israelis about that. We didn't necessarily like what they did, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a relationship. Like his expressions, the way he expresses himself is he's a statesman. And I think that he is perfect for this role of U.S. Secretary of State. And I also love the fact that he's deporting jihadis and not allowing jihadis in the country. I think that's absolutely key. If you can't stop the immigration of bad ideas through the immigration of bad people, You won't be able to do anything as Secretary of State. Secretary of State is supposed to defend the state, right? That's his job, and so I think he's the man to do it.
That nature. I mean, that certainly won't be what I'm going to communicate. We just want to know what comes next. How do we get the 48 hostages out? What's the plan to defeat Hamas? So we can get to the next phase. Go ahead.
Just move on the settlements that they recognized the other day, that Netanyahu said signed up on this E1 settlement that splits the West Bank in half.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. I can't exactly make it out how the question was asked, but basically, what about the settlements? What about the sovereignty plan? That's what we call it here in Israel, asserting sovereignty over 82% of Judea and Samaria. What about that? Let's see how he answers this, Rubio.
People say that means basically there's no Palestinian state in the future.
Yeah, look, I think part of that is a reaction to. That's an Israeli reaction to these efforts around the world to recognize a Palestinian state.
So he's saying that it's an Israeli reaction to efforts around the world to pull the carpet out from under Israel and to recognize a Palestine on our land. And he's saying it's an Israeli reaction.
From countries in Europe and Canada and others that have signed on to this thing. I think it comes on the precipice of these meetings at the UN where it's going to become a topic. So I think that's the Israeli response to that. And we warned them. We warned a lot of these countries around the world that that's what would happen.
So he's saying, listen carefully. He's saying this is a natural response. This is what was going to happen because Israel is being challenged by other people recognizing somebody else, a sovereign on our soil. And Rubio is saying we warned the world, these European countries and others, we warned these countries that's what's going to happen. Israel is going to unilaterally declare sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. Just parenthetically, I want to say I hate the idea that our declaration of sovereignty is linked up to somebody else's declaration of Palestine as though it's a punishment. Hello! If it's your land, take it, declare it, notwithstanding what the jerks are doing. If it's your land, declare it. Don't make it. It's not I'm going to punish you. I'm going to punish you by declaring sovereignty on my own land. That sounds dumb. If it's your land, be sovereign in your land. Be like, it's my land, bro. And I'm going to be sovereign here. And I don't care what the heck you're doing. If it's just as it's like it's some kind of tit for tat, it just makes me feel tawdry and cheap as though I'm punishing somebody by declaring sovereignty over my land. That's not the way it is. It's my land because it's my historical homeland. It's God-given. It's historic. It's our third commonwealth here. There was no other sovereign. There's certainly no Palestine. It's a total invention. Hello? It's our land. Okay? So you want to declare sovereignty. But, okay, now we're talking to a diplomat. He's a chief diplomat in some ways. And he's saying in a diplomatic language, well, we warned the European countries that if you try to force a Palestine onto Israel, then Israel's going to declare sovereignty. I guess that is a cudgel, a bat that Israel can use against the declaration of Palestinianism. You know what? Maybe I'm just simple. I'm a little bit like dumb. You know what I mean? I'm simple. I'm just simple-minded. To me, it's like, don't create a Palestinian authority on your land. Don't use that word about your land, because if you do, somebody else will be like, well, they mean to say that this should be an Arab country. Don't do that. And then if it's yours, declare it. Don't wait for the bad guys to do something. And be simple. Be simple. I don't think that, but the world has become a very complex place, and there's a complex like chessboard out there, which I don't personally understand, and I don't think is very effective. And bottom line is, when I look at the world, I think to myself, Israel, you haven't done exactly a great PR job at explaining why this is your land. Now you're using this moment to punish the world by declaring sovereignty. You know what? I'll take it. If that's what we got to do to get sovereignty in our land is for having the world declare that it's a Palestine, then okay, you know what I mean? Let's do it that way. But I say that in Judaism, that's called b'di'evid. It's like a second option and not lechatchila, which is the first option.
What we thought might happen if they went ahead with this. So I'm sure that'll come up in the conversation. That's all I'm going to say about it for now.
Isn't it contradictory to what you guys want, which is to...
Sir, you had a...
Did I kill it? I don't know what that is.
Isn't it just doing more to inflame tensions with Palestinians and
get further away?
Well, it all began when these countries start going out there and doing this recognition of the Palestinian state. We told them there's going to be a counter reaction to that by the Israelis.
Look, what is Rubio saying here? Rubio saying the Europeans are the troublemakers. I just boiled it down for you. That's what he's saying. He's like, the Europeans are troublemakers. They want to tell, like the white colonialists that they are, they want to tell Israel what to do. They want to tell Israel who should be sovereign in our land. They want to get in our business because they can't get out of our business. And because the Europeans have a sick relationship to Israel, a sick, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're like just totally obsessed. That's the word. They are obsessed with us. They're obsessed with Israel. They're obsessed with shrinking Israel. They're obsessed to allow what's happened to them, which is that their countries became jihadists, to do that to us. They've got this manic thing. So what Rubio's saying in Diplo speak is, you started it, and now don't be surprised that Israel's going to assert sovereignty.
And I think that's what you've seen. So we're going to talk about that holistically in terms of how it impacts the entirety of it. I'm sure it's a topic of conversation.
In Colombia, have you made a decision yet about whether or not you'll certify them? I know that.
Well, we might have an announcement on that next week.
Will you inaugurate this tunnel in the Temple Mount on Tuesday? There have been reports of that.
Well, let me tell you, the city of David is separate. I intend to go to that. I've been to that before, many years. That's an archaeological site. It's one of the most important archaeological sites in the world. I've visited it numerous times in the past. I understand people want to involve politics in it. I understand everything in this region is political to some extent. But at the end of the day, it's an extraordinary archaeological site. It just is. And I think an important one.
Okay, that was awesome. Okay, he's saying the city of David, which my good friend Zev Ornstein is the director of international affairs. Rubio says, I'm going to the city of David. I'm going to recognize the big, beautiful pilgrimage road from the Siloam Pool to the Temple Mount, which has been uncovered underneath the Arab neighborhood in Jerusalem of Silwan. This archaeological finding, of which you can learn a lot about by going to Yishai Fleisher TV and seeing our Tisha B'Av special about the city of David and the tour that we did there. Says Marco Rubio, I am going there and I'm going to recognize it because it is a biblical archaeological site, and I'm not going to allow this to be turned into politics. It's much more than politics. And that's one of the things that Marco Rubio is doing here, which is recognizing that biblical connection to the land. Overall, so far, you see that he gave Israel a little rap on the knuckles about striking Qatar, but basically said, listen, we got to destroy Hamas. We got to get those hostages out. Judea and Samaria, he said, well, we told you so. If you're going to push Palestine, then Jews are going to recognize Judea and Samaria. And then he said, city of David, it's a biblical heritage site, which a magnificent site, which I want to be part of. I want to be part of great human, biblical, godly archaeology. I want to touch that. I want to touch Jerusalem, biblical Jerusalem. And I think he's spot on.
For multiple faiths.
Qatar, I think starting Monday is going to meet with regional allies in the Gulf to talk about, come up with a response to the attacks. Are you going to bring a message to the Prime Minister about that?
Well, we talked to them a little bit about it yesterday. I'm not sure they've yet settled on exactly what it is they're going to ask of their allies in the region. I don't think it's breaking news that multiple countries in the region were upset about what happened. We're unhappy about it. Obviously, we're not going to be at that meeting. I don't think they've yet settled on exactly what it is they're going to raise as their message at that meeting. But our focus now is moving forward. What comes next? Because when all is said and done, despite what happened earlier this week in Qatar and Doha, we still have to deal with the 48 hostages, and they need to be released. We still have to deal with Hamas, which nobody in the region wants to see stay in place. And we still have to deal with, when that is settled and done, how do you rebuild Gaza so that this next...
So there he is again, trumpeting those 3 points. Get the hostages freed, get rid of Hamas, rebuild Gaza. Okay, I can't disagree with that. I can't disagree with that. I have to say, good. I'd love to see it be under Israeli sovereignty, but the Secretary of State is very, very clear what he's saying. He's like, look, we gotta get the hostages back, destroy the bad guys, and rebuild this thing. You know what? I want to see it rebuilt. Just so you know, I want to see it rebuilt. I want to see Gaza rebuilt. I want to see it flourishing. I want to see it flourishing for Arabs and Jews. I want to see it flourishing for this region. It's like a sore. It's like a sore, Gaza. Instead of being a sore, let it be beautiful. Let it be alive. And I've always said about President Trump as a former New Yorker, we know what President Trump is. He's a real estate guy. He is a real estate mogul. And he understands the power of a beautiful Gaza. The power of a beautiful Gaza. Just think about that. Think about Yishai saying to you, like, it doesn't have to be this darkness. And that's what Secretary Rubio is saying. It can be beautiful. It can be rebuilt. Let's not, for a second, let's take our concentration off of how, but the why and the what of what it can be and why it's important to make this soar, to make this like Mogadishu type thing, turn it into like the south of France. I'm using other countries to kind of give you, a visualization. We could make it beautiful. Let's make Gaza beautiful again. Let's make it Jewish again. Let's make it Israeli again. Let's make it biblical again. Let's make it alive again. Let's make it good for people again. That is what I think I'm trying to riff off of the words of the Secretary of State.
And in a way that this never happens again. All right, let's go. One more.
Has the U.S. made any final determination or made any more decision about the Russian drone incursion in Poland, whether it was intentional?
All right, so now he goes to the Russian drone incursion. Very important, but I'm not going to deal with that on this show because we're talking about the Holy Land. Let's just do Rubio, as he is now on the Israel side of things, and as he joins Prime Minister Netanyahu at the Kotel. Let's see that. Okay, you could see Prime Minister Netanyahu, then Rubio, and then, of course, Ambassador Huckabee.
לא.
Guys, this isn't a cash machine, okay? It's like they're taking out bills out of it. Kotel cash machine would be nice. Like, doot, doot, doot. Come on, Lord, I need some help. But they are there, and this is putting a message of prayer. That's a cool thing, that people can go to the Western Wall and do a message of prayer. That's what Jerusalem is. It's a hotline to God. It's a spiritual center. It's a way to connect to God's energy. And you know what? Rubio is a very strong Bible guy. He's an Israel guy. He's a Jerusalem guy. He's a Bible guy. He's a history guy. He's an archaeology guy. Okay, so that's Rubio at the Western Wall, and that's Netanyahu explaining to him about it. And it's powerful stuff indeed, powerful stuff indeed. Let's hope that truth will come out. Let's hope that Rubio and Netanyahu come to smart decisions about actually getting rid of bad guys. The problem is we always let these bad guys get away. We always let them hide behind, the masks that Qatar and Turkey and Egypt put up. And they are masters of double-facedness. They are masters of the double game. They're masters of ta'kiyah. They're masters of that game. And in order to actually free our region from jihadism, we've got to start funding it. We got to help. Refugees out, and we've got to see that jihadism is a global scourge, which is attacking America in that double-faced way on American campuses and American media. And what we talked about, Charlie Kirk's analysis, which is so correct, which is that Marxism and wokeism work together with jihadism to undermine a freedom-loving civilization. All right. So that's Marco Rubio, and we want to bless you, Marco. Thank you for blessing Israel. Thank you for coming to the city of David and seeing that connection between the Bible and modern state of Israel and what Charlie Kirk said, which is when you come to the land of Israel, that demythologizes the Bible and makes it real. The Bible is real, is real, is real. There you go. Israel is real. All right. Let's check out a few more videos before we end off here. We got a few more videos to cover from the week. Let's see. I like this one a lot. I like this one. Check out this video. Here's the Polish foreign minister destroys the EU as he's standing there, and he stands together with UK patriots. Check out this video. I love this video.
Put on an armor, not a dress.
Wait a minute. Wait. Let me start again. Okay. So we have here the Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs, and we have the Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs standing at the EU, standing up against jihadism and for a strong identity for Europe against jihadism and against wokeism. Here we go.
Be a man. Put on an armor, not a dress. And your laughter will not change the fact that this is your fault. This is your fault. You destroyed and make Europe weak. So be a man. Be strong. Be brave. Be like Poland. Because you're not going to laugh in a minute. Russian drones are flying over Poland. And what you're doing, you're having another discussion about helping migrants. And you're laughing. You're not going to laugh for long. That is the problem. You do not understand your position. So stop attacking us, because we are the first in Europe to save Europe, to restore Europe. We are the brave ones, and you got only laughter because you are safe here in this building, in this parliament. Over 1 million people will take streets of London this Saturday, and you will see the unity. You will see the strength of the patriots. Be brave.
You know, there is right now a fight. There's like a civil war happening in England and in other places where people are like, hello, we got to stop this thing. And Poland has been against migrants. Poland has been against jihad. Poland has been pro-Israel. Now they have to be fighting off Russian drones. Oh my God. Like, this is the stuff of World War III. Okay. They're pushing them off, and they're saying to Europe, wake up, take identity. Push back against jihadism, push back against Russian incursion, get back to identity, get back to who you are. And we have to fight the bad guys right now. And we have to fight the Marxism, wokeism, immigrationism, and jihadism. Immigrationism is the step towards jihadism. Okay, so that's strong words from Poland. I went to Poland. You know what? I liked it. I think that Israel should be better friends with Poland. We could talk about that with somebody that represents Poland, but I personally believe that Israel needs to be a better friend with Poland, with the Czech Republic, with Hungary, and I'm looking forward to do a trip to Hungary because it's time for me to go and visit Hungary and connect with the people there. I like strong nationalist Europeans, and I think that they are natural allies of Israel in the nationalistic, pro-Bible, pro-family alliance. Okay. Any other videos that we want to cover today? Let's cover one more video. Here is one of our own dudes. His name is Yuval Noah Harari. He's a big intellectual on the far left, and he's written, these books, Homo Sapiens. He does not see Israel as godly. He's an Israeli. He's a global leader in the anti-Israel and the anti-strong Israel consciousness. He wants you remember that Polish guy that we just showed you? He's exactly the opposite. And here he comes from Israel, and he really undermines Israel's position, because he's an Israeli that all day long wants to see us be weak. Okay. So here's Yuval Noah Harari on the dangers of a strong Israel. Let's discuss that.
2023 till now. Where does that fit? Is it footnote or chapter in the sweep of Jewish history?
I think it's could be one of the biggest turning points in Jewish history, maybe the biggest since the fall of the temple in 70 CE, since the Roman conquest, because Judaism has survived. It became the world champion in surviving catastrophes, but it never faced a catastrophe like we are dealing with right now, which is a spiritual catastrophe for Judaism itself.
Oh no, we're having a spiritual catastrophe! Oh my gosh, I thought we were doing so good. I thought like 7 million Jews in the land of Israel, and the land of Israel reborn, our language Hebrew reborn, our economy reborn, our army reborn, our farming reborn, our technology and genius reborn, and people returning to Torah. I thought we're having one of the greatest spiritual times in a really long time, in 2,000 years. But Yuval Noah Harari says it's a spiritual catastrophe for Judaism itself. And what is that spiritual catastrophe that he's talking about? Jewish strength. Oh no, we can't just be like victims, surviving victims. We can't just be Woody Allen. We can't be that. He just wants us to be like bookish and good and perfect and always living in somebody else's court. Oh no, he wants us to be, weak and good and moral, and he wants to do virtue signaling to no end. But the bane of his existence and that catastrophe is strong Jews holding on to their land, pushing back against their enemies, striking fear into their enemies. We don't want that. We want ghetto Judaism. That's the most beautiful Judaism, the one that we were just the good and small, and we were the Jiminy Cricket of the world. Now we're a nation state, and we have to make policies and issues and deal with bad guys. It's not always pretty. Oh no. We've become like a real nation state with power. There's nothing worse than Jewish power for people like Yuval Noah Harari.
Because what is happening right now in Israel could basically, I think, destroy, void 2,000 years of Jewish thinking and culture and existence.
He loves that ghetto Judaism. He doesn't want that destroyed. He wants the old kind of Judaism, the intellectual. He wants to be a middleman. He wants to, be a banker and an accountant, and that good kind of, Judaism when we were like weak and we didn't have to, take power over issues and people and get into the dirty business of statecraft. That was the good Judaism. Now it's going to be destroyed.
That the worst case scenario that we are facing right now, what we are facing is the potential of an ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza and the West Bank.
We're not ethnically cleansing. We are jihad cleansing. Hello, people need jihad cleansing all over the world. They need it from American campus. They need it from England. They need it from Belgium. They need it from France and Paris. They need it from all the places. We need jihad cleansing. That's true. We need to take on the bad guys and look at them in the face right before they take over like Texas.
Resulting in the expulsion of 2 million, maybe more Palestinians from there. The establishment of Greater Israel.
No, not a Greater Israel, not a big Israel and its ancestral homeland, which is a tiny little state in the giant Arab Middle East. A greater Israel. Oh no, in Israel and Judea and Samaria and its ancestral homeland, the size of New Jersey. That's horrible. That's just awful. We don't want that greater Israel, which is like the size of New Jersey. We don't want that. We want a small Israel. We want a baby Israel. We want a ghetto Israel, a good and ghetto baby, tiny little Israel. That's what you want. Oh no, not a greater Israel. Big, bad, greater Israel. We don't want that.
The disintegration of Israeli democracy and the creation of a new Israel, which is based on an ideology of Jewish supremacy.
Habibi, let me tell you something, pal, buddy. Let me tell you something. Ethnic national states, of which there are many including all the Arab countries around us and many other countries. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not supremacy. It's called nationalism. It means that your people live on your land and have a country to try to help your people get up and be successful. It's called a tribal country, an ethnic national state. There's nothing wrong with that. There's many countries like that. You know, like Ireland is like that, for God's sakes. They don't talk about it that way, but that's what it is. Poland is like that. There's many countries that try to help their peoplehood. Nothing wrong with that. It's like a family country. That's what it means. That's all it means. Oh, it's based on ideology of Jewish supremacy. It's not supremacy. It's just our little land. We've been persecuted for 2,000 years. I know you love that part of it. You love the persecuted Jews. Well, now we're trying to not be persecuted. He's like, but we need to be persecuted to be the good kind of Jew that I want to be. I want to be the persecuted Jew. Because that's what I understand. That's how I don't want like Jewish supremacy, i.e. Jewish strength, Jewish bigness, Jewish on the land, greater Israel. He's got all these fears. Notice all his fears are greater Israel or supreme Israel. He's afraid of a big Israel. He's afraid of Jewish power. He's allergic to Jewish power. He wants to be a baby little good Israel, little ghetto Israel. That's what he feels comfortable in.
And on the worship of what were completely anti-Jewish values for the last 2 millennia.
He means that he doesn't like it that when we're, as I say again, strong Jews, he says that's anti-Jewish values of the last 2,000 years. That's because we didn't have a country, bro. We didn't have the ability to be strong. We yearned to be strong. But you know what the problem is? Yuval Noah Harari, you don't read the sources. You don't understand who King David was. You don't understand who the Hasmoneans were. You don't understand Samson. You don't understand Jewish strength. You don't understand that Abraham defeated the 4 kings. You have no good sense of that. All you have a sense of is ghetto Judaism, okay? And by the way, the ghetto period was beautiful in its time. It had its place, okay? But I don't reject the diaspora, but I also don't make it into a god. You like make weakness into a god. You understand? I mean, like his whole attitude is that the diaspora is the better version of the Jewish people because it's clean and it's and you're the victim because he loves the victim thing. He's got like an attitude that if you're the victim, then you're the good, and if you're strong, you're necessarily the bad. That is a mental it's making an idolatry out of weakness. We don't have that. We don't have that problem. It's true. We like the idea of a big, strong, beautiful Israel defending its people, strong against the enemies. We got no problem with that, but he does.
A country based on the worship of power and violence.
We worship power and violence. Actually, bro, we worship defense. We worship God. We worship, we don't worship, but we appreciate our nationalism. We appreciate our Bible. We appreciate our defense. We appreciate our peoplehood. And we appreciate that we've given finally the chance to not be victims. But he's like, no, not power. Look at the words. Not power. Violence is another way of saying defense, right? So he doesn't want power. He doesn't want defense. He doesn't want a greater Israel. And what else did he not want? Whatever. He wants everything that's powerful to be subdued so he can be good. He wants to be a pauper, the good pauper Jew, the good weak Jew, kissing up to the whatever whoever was the czar and the whoever we had to be under the thumb. But that way we were oppressed and therefore necessarily good in his mind.
And which is militarily strong, it will survive. It will be militarily strong.
At least he understands that, right? That we will survive because of our military strength. Thank God for that.
It will have alliances with various bullies around the world. It will also be economically viable. And this will be the spiritual disaster.
Okay, at least he's getting that these things, that Israel is actually strong. It's economically viable and military strong. Hey, that sounds kind of good to me. Economically viable and militarily strong. And if they like us, great. If they don't like us, whatever. Okay. But to him, that's like a spiritual disaster. He doesn't, by the way, explain why this is a spiritual disaster.
Because this will be,
maybe he will now,
the new Judaism.
It's not the new Judaism, Yuval Noah Harari. It's the old Judaism. King David. David Melech, Melech Israel, David Melech, Melech Israel, David Melech, Melech Israel, Melech Israel, Chai v'kayam. King David is alive and well. Why do I get the feeling that Yuval Noah Harari never sings the song of King David, not even once in his life? He does not understand King David. He does not understand Jewish strength. He probably doesn't understand what Hanukkah means because he's into weak Judaism.
That all Jews in the world will have to deal with. It will not disappear. Again, Jews are very good dealing with catastrophes from the Roman conquest to the Holocaust. But this will not be a military catastrophe. The state will actually be successful in military and economic terms.
So it will be successful in military and economic terms. The thing is, Yuval Noah Harari is a sad case because it is clear that he has not been able to shift into the Zionist gear. That's the bottom line. He's a Jew, an atheist, a guy who doesn't actually understand, as Yo writes here. He says he's an atheist dedicated 2 hours a day to meditation, participate in annual silent retreat. He's got all these values, but he doesn't understand the Bible. He doesn't understand Jewish history in any real sense. And he simply has not been able to shift gears into the gift of Zionism and the rebirth of the Jewish people in the land of Israel. He simply can't do it. He can't do it. And therefore, he is preaching what he says. But by the way, he wants the last 2,000 years of Judaism, but he doesn't want the Torah that was held up in the last 2,000 years of Judaism. And therefore, he's very confused because it's not like he understood that the last 2,000 years was this kind of aberration where we held on to the Torah of Jewish strength and wished for it and prayed for it every day, 3 times a day, right? He never understood that part. He only understood the weak Judaism, and he worships. He says, Yishai, you worship Jewish strength. And I say, Yuval, you worship Jewish weakness. You never understood the sources. You never understood the yearnings. And of course, you don't know how to go back to Second Temple period or First Temple period. You are stuck in Anatevka. You got an Anatevka perspective minus the tradition. Tradition. He doesn't understand what it is to talk to God. He doesn't want to understand what it is to yearn for the Holy Land. He doesn't understand. He's like in Anatevka, but without the tradition, without the Torah. And he worships because he created this new false god, called the weak Jew.
And it will make the challenge much, much bigger. No Jew, say in London or New York or anywhere else, will be able to say, this is not the real Judaism.
What he means to say by that is this is going to be the official Judaism, and he's right. It will be. He's smart. He understands that this is what's coming, but he thinks that it's a spiritual catastrophe. And I'd say it's a spiritual rebirth. I say we're going through a spiritual renaissance here in the land of Israel. There's nothing wrong with godly vision of a Jewish people returning to its land and being big, defeating its enemies, and being a light unto the nations and welcoming nations from the world. Friends, I want to finish up the show with a deep thought for you. That is that right now the world hates Israel. And that's sad. That's really sad for Israel. But the state of Israel and the Jewish people have a modality for this moment. And that is that we draw inside and we defend ourselves through the advent of the Jewish state, because at this point in time, it becomes like a Noah's Ark, and it floats in the stormy sea of hate out there, and yet it floats above it. And if you come into Israel right now, you will feel that warm protection, that kind of love and bursting life that it has within it. And the world doesn't want to see it. We're enclosed in the ark right now. That's okay. And then there's another mode, and that is the mode of being a light onto the nations. And that is when the world wants to accept the light. The world right now is in a cursed state. It's being judged right now. Will you love Israel? And by the way, I have many critiques about how Israel has handled itself in this period, but still, it's an opportunity for the world. Will you judge Israel favorably? Will you love Israel? If you won't, then it's a curse for you. But Israel shall survive. Israel will go inside. We're not a light unto the nations today. No, we're not. We're actually a light unto ourselves. And Jews from all over the world are coming to be defended in this Noah's Ark, in this beautiful land. And a time will come soon. I tell my kids all the time, soon will come a time where there's going to be a huge light that comes out. We're going to open the windows of the ark, and an amazing light is going to just emanate out. The face of Moses. Remember that. The face of Moses is the face of light. The face of Torah is a face of light. The face of God is a face of light. The face of Jerusalem is a face of light. And out of that ark, Noah's Ark, the windows will open, and because right now we have to shut those windows because of the storm of hate. But when that storm subsides, we're going to open up those windows, and an amazing ray of light is going to come out to the world. And the world will yearn for it. They'll drink it up, and the whole world will want to come here. That's, by the way, why we have to right now build up as much infrastructure to receive all that love, all that blessing, all that tourism. We have to build it right now because it will come. This hate will subside. It will die down. It's a kind of self-destructive disease for them, a judgment time for them, and also a judgment time for us to awaken in the service of God, to come closer to him. In the meantime, Israel's coming closer to God inside. In the meantime, Israel's having a spiritual moment inside, and the world is having a dark moment outside. And soon it'll all be reversed. The world will suddenly look at Israel and be like, how did you survive? How are you so beautiful, Jerusalem? And the light of Israel will come out to the world, and people will drink it. That light will be like something that they want to imbibe. That's coming. I feel it. I know it. And we have to just get through this dark time. All right, dear friends, I want to thank you so much for being with me. I want to thank very much Yo for being my operator and producer on the show today, and helping out with all you wily chatters out there. So wily. Got so many opinions out there, and I love it. And thank you very much. We want to bless the soul and memory of Charlie Kirk. Thank you for your amazing life, and thank you for your light, and thank you for reminding us about the Sabbath. I want to remind you that you have ways to support Israel through supporting this channel. Fightforisrael.org is our channel for beautification and strengthening the land of Israel. Fightforisrael.org. Fight, the number 4, Israel.org. Beautiful. Fightforisrael.org or buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Like, subscribe, comment. Become a member and check out our awesome store, which is run by Malkah. And it's on YouTube, Yishai Fleisher TV. I want to thank all the good folks out there. Oh, and don't forget, even as you're listening, to do a super chat. And Teresa Reddick sends $1.99 as a blessing, and I send you a blessing right back, Teresa. God bless you wherever you are, and may Hashem send you His face and light. And thank you very much for being with me, you guys from all over the world. You guys are beautiful. Am Yisrael Chai. Please be part of our channel. We do our best to refract and rebroadcast that light from Israel, even in this dark time. And somewhere, wherever you are, you're like in your house or in your office, and you're imbibing this because you do see that light from Jerusalem. You feel it, and you know it. You know that we're going to overcome Bezrat Hashem, and we will be successful, Bezrat Hashem. And remember, the easiest way for you to receive that light is to take this piece of advice from your dear friend Yishai. I give you 2 pieces of advice. 2 pieces of advice, my dear friends. 1, no. Scratch that. 3 pieces of advice. 3 pieces of advice. Everybody get ready. Put on your take out your little notepads. 3 pieces of advice for you from Yishai. He's being practical. 3 pieces of advice. 1, face Jerusalem. I want you to pray today. I want you to find out which way it is to Jerusalem. Be as accurate as possible and face Jerusalem when you pray. That's number 1. Number 2, I want you to buy a product from the land of Israel, especially the wines from our Holy Land. It's a classic way to feel the blessings of the Holy Land. Enjoy the wines of the Holy Land. Share with your friends. Take pride in it. Tell them, look, this is from the land of Judea. This is from the hills of Jerusalem or the Golan Heights. Take that wine And you could get it. You could get it on kosherwines.com. You could get it in a million different ways. You could also get it just at your local store. Israeli Wines. Go to the Israel section, kosher section. It's happening in all the major cities. Check it out. And so have some of that. Is IsraeliWinesDirect.com. Yo, why aren't these guys advertising with us? We got to get them to advertise with us. Israeli Wines Direct. I like that. And finally, got to listen to Charlie. Start keeping that Sabbath. Start taking a break. And I even allow you to take a break from this show on the Sabbath. Take a digital detox and turn your life towards God on the Sabbath. 3 pieces of advice to get closer to Israel and Jerusalem and the holiness. 1, face Jerusalem. 2, drink wine from the land of Israel or something else, even if it's potato chip from the land of Israel. And finally, start keeping that Sabbath. That's my advice to you. And of course, my other advice is stay connected to us. We're doing our best to broadcast so much from the good land, from the land of Israel. Lots of love, lots of blessings from the land of blessings. May Hashem be with you wherever you are, with good energy from the land of good energy, wherever you are. Shalom, shalom, shalom. And don't forget to be part of it. And don't forget to laugh. The bad guys hate it when you laugh. We got to defeat them with our laughter, our holy laughter. Yalla, everybody. It's time to wrap it up. And shalom.